Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. This is Test It Tuesday, where we unbox, evaluate, and field test products in real-world conditions, then share honest and unbiased results. I appreciate you being here with me today. If this is your first time, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Today, we've got a package from Venture Heat, and it's their Pro V3 waterproof heated diving vest. So, as usual, for Test It Tuesday, we'll take an inventory, see what's in the box, and then we'll get it out in the field and test it. As I said, this is the Venture Heat Pro V3 waterproof heated vest. Heats front and back, heats up to 6 hours on low, 12-volt waterproof battery, 3 heat settings, onboard and wrist control, pressure tested, and rated for 300 feet. That's much deeper than I'll be diving. First thing I see is a net carrying case. That's nice. Dual zipper design and a handle on top. And I know I'll use this because I like to stay organized when I pack and when I travel. The zippers function smoothly, which is always important. Here we have the vest right on top. I went with the extra large. I did review the sizing chart carefully, and I believe this should be the right size for me. I encourage you to review the chart carefully. We have 2 pockets on front for the batteries with zipper open, and here's the connection wire for the battery pack. This does come with 2 batteries, at least that's my understanding, and we'll confirm that. Second battery pack and wire for attaching the battery. And there is a crotch strap. Again, this is the extra large, and there's a hook in the neck area to hang it up. You can feel the wires inside. Here we have a side zipper. I assume that's to make it easy to get in and out of. And also, I believe there's an extension panel that you can zip into the side. The zippers on the vest function very smoothly. Let's take a look at the other side. Here's a stretchy panel, and I believe there's a stretching panel that zips into this side, but we'll find out as we go through the rest of the contents of the package. The user's guide. I will definitely need to read this. I want to make sure I take care of the vest properly. It looks pretty straightforward. Connect the batteries, use the wrist control, right? What could go wrong? Charging the wristband. Charging the batteries, pairing your wristband and remote, and product overview. Like I said, I will circle back and read this. Installing the optional extension panel. I was correct. There is an optional extension panel, and here it is. I don't think I'm going to need this, but we'll see when I put it on. It's my understanding you want it to fit pretty snugly. Oh, there's another net carrying case included. Anyway, it's my understanding you want it to fit fairly snugly so that those heating coils are close to your skin. Here we have some O-ring grease. These boxes are all labeled battery charger, lithium battery, and we'll pull everything out here in just a second. Just taking note of all the different boxes. That's our second battery. And then remote controller and charging stand. First up, we'll take a look at the battery charger. And the battery charger comes with two different pin sets, one for the United States and one for somewhere else. But we'll start with the United States because that's where I currently am. I'm not familiar with the other pin sets, so I don't know which is for which country. Here you can see we can charge both battery packs at the same time, and those receivers are set for 3-pin, so assuming the batteries must have a 3-pin setup. We'll confirm that in just a minute. This is the wrist controller. That'll be very convenient because I assume I'll be wearing the vest underneath something either wet or dry. And that's pretty simple design. Just got that one button. I think I'll be able to figure that out after I read the instructions, right? And this is the charging stand for the wrist controller. Looks pretty straightforward. There's a cradle that you set it in, a couple contacts on the wrist controller. Looks like it only fits in one orientation. Even I can figure that out. Contacts line up. And you see the metal receivers for the contacts. And there's a place for that big giant button. So yeah, it looks like only goes in one way and snaps in snugly. And there's a USB-C, and here we have a USB-C, if I can show it to you, to USB or USB-C. I love cables that come with that built-in adapter. That's so convenient. Moving on, we have our 2 lithium batteries for the vest. And looks like we have a simple on-off button on top and then a protective cover. And here we have our second battery and identical design. That's it for the inventory. We have our 2 batteries, cradle, wrist controller, charging cable for the wrist controller, charging cable for the batteries, some O-ring grease, our extension panel, and the vest itself. Now let's put the batteries in, turn it on, and make sure everything is functioning. I absolutely want to do that before I head out to the water. So we have our first battery compartment, and the connection for the battery has this protective cap on it. We can see the 3-pin configuration and the 3 pins in our battery. And that has a flat spot, so it can only go in one way. So that's good. We're not going to misalign that or put it in incorrectly. We'll only fit into the receiver in one orientation. And then we have a locking nut that slides down and twists to secure the cable. Now it looks to me like this button shows the battery's fully charged. I haven't charged it yet. This is just the test. I'm just making sure that everything assembles correctly and functions before I head out to the water. We'll turn that battery pack on and put it in the vest. And I'm assuming it just slides in like that, and You zip up the pouch. That should be good to go. I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but these caps look like they will fit together. And, oh, they do. So I'm going to close those caps just to keep water out of them while I'm scuba diving. Again, I don't know if you're supposed to do that. I will go back and read the instructions, but good way to keep the caps dry. And there's our first battery installed, and now we'll install the second battery on the other side. Same deal. Install the battery, connect the dust covers, turn the battery on, put it in the pouch. We'll start with the vest on low, and it gives you a little vibrate when you turn it on. And I'm going to use this heat gun to get an idea of what the temperature is. We just turned it on, and I'm reading 77.2 degrees Fahrenheit. Check back in a little bit, and we are now reading 77.9, again, degrees Fahrenheit. And this is on the low setting. This is by no means a scientific experiment, but just for my own information, we'll bump it up to setting 2, and it's quickly warming up a little bit more. We're 81.7 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not very patient, so I'm not waiting very long. I did trim the video, but we are on the medium setting now, reading 82.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Still on medium. And now we are reading 83.7 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, still on medium. This time I gave it maybe a full 2 minutes, and we are now reading 86.9 degrees Fahrenheit, still on the medium setting. Another minute or so later, and still on medium, now reading 86.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, no, 92. Yeah, I guess if I get it right on where one of the coils is, it reads a little hotter. I probably should have been moving it around the whole time. I'm assuming the vest heats to whatever specs they provided. This really is just for me to prove to myself that yes, the vest gets warmer as you increase from low to medium settings. And again, I think if you hit right where one of those wires are, then you'll get a little bit warmer reading. Still on medium now. I'm curious about taking readings in different locations on the vest. So we'll try the inside and try to hit right on one of those wires. Again, we are still on the medium setting. Okay, we'll take a couple readings on the high setting. On the outside, we're getting 104.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And on the inside, on the high setting, we are getting, looks like 122.2. One more reading on the outside, on the high setting. And it looks like it's going to be about 109, 111.2.
We're here at Mermet Springs today. We got the Venture heated vest on. Gonna do a little cold freshwater diving and see how warm it keeps me.
I opted to dive with the vest wet. I don't dive dry that often. Here you can see I have it on the low setting, and here I have it on the medium setting. And lastly on the high setting. I did 6 dives total, test dives with the vest, and I didn't even use a full wetsuit. but used some other exposure protection over the top of the vest. The wrist strap was easy to adjust, and it fit nicely next to my dive computer. Also, with the large button, it was easy to operate with dive gloves on. I did 4 dives the first day and 2 dives the second day. I did charge the batteries overnight, and after day 1, the batteries were completely depleted. However, I did keep the vest on between dives and left it on. I had it on the low setting when I was out of the water between dives. Here you can see the water temperature is 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've got the vest on high. Again, I'm not diving with a full wetsuit. I've just got some lighter insulation on. I will go over the minimum water temperatures for all 6 dives here in just a few minutes. But what I can tell you is that I was quite comfortable and pleasantly surprised at how warm the vest kept me. So again, I did a total of 6 test dives with the vest, and of those 6, the 2 coldest dives were this one with a minimum temperature of 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and dive number 5 with a minimum water temperature of 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. As I mentioned, I was quite comfortable through all 6 dives, including those 2 with the lowest minimum water temperature. Final thoughts on the Venture Heat Pro V3. Honestly, I wish I had had this vest on my trip to the Galapagos. When I packed for that trip, I ended up taking 2 different exposure options. I brought a thermal exposure garment for the warmer dives and a crushed neoprene wetsuit for the colder ones. Looking back, I really think I could have gotten away with just the thermal suit and this heated vest for the entire trip. I didn't even know that a heated vest like this was an option, really. Not only would that have saved some space and weight in my luggage, but having the ability to switch between the low, medium, and high heat, depending on the dive conditions, would have been a huge advantage. With the wrist control and being able to adjust the temperature during the dive, that just increases your comfort throughout the dive, right? I also appreciate that the heating elements cover both the front and the back. And with the dual battery system, I know they claim up to 6 hours of runtime. On day 1, I know I ran it mostly on high when I was in the water for 4 dives, and low when I was on the shore between dives. So I got plenty of heat out of those batteries. I did some diving in the Bahamas in December or January a couple years ago, and again, this would have been ideal because I just had my thermal exposure garment and it wasn't quite warm enough, but I feel like if I would have had this vest, I would have been just fine. As always, I'm not trying to tell you what to buy. These are just my experiences and what works for me. And as you know, as a diver, when it comes to insulation, we are all quite different. Some folks run warm, some folks run cold. I tend to be right in the middle. So you've got to do what works for you. I can say that I'm very happy to have this as part of my kit, and I know I will continue to utilize it for a long time. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.